Today we're going to start Yud Aleph, Amud Aleph on the bottom. That's 11a. 11a, but on starting from the second Mishnah. Yes, we thank Hashem that we're able to learn every day. This chus of our learning, Hashem, the base of Migdash immediately. Okay, the last Mishnah, we spoke about a girl that was under 3 years old that's coming from either she was converting or something like that. We said, well, she's still considered a basula, because even if something happened to her back when she was in her other state, but it for sure grew back. So that was under 3 years old. Now we say, Hagadol Shaba ala Ktana. An adult that lived with a girl that was under 3 years old. So that would be the same case as before. The Katan Shaba ala Gdoila, that's a new case. A young boy that's under the age of 9. That lives with a woman that's older than 3. Yeah, not so old. Okay. Or mukaseitz, or a girl that was hit by wood and she had some sort of accident that would have caused that she's not a basula anymore. Kesubos Masayim Dibrab Meya. They still have a ksuba of 200. They're still considered a basula, even though they did have relations, and or a basula or a mukaseitz, where she didn't have relations, but she's clearly not a basula. Nevertheless, Kesubos Masayim, that's the 200. That's like as if she's a basula. Chachamim Maimrem mukaseitz Kesubos Mana. The Chamim disagree regarding mukaseitz. Over there, she's clearly not a basula. She doesn't have the basulim. So her ksuba is only 100. We're going to see what about the other cases. We have to wait for the Gemara in that. Basula almana gerusha v'chalutza min nesuin. Let's say this woman, she's actually a widow, a divorcee, or a chalutza. Chalutza means she's a widow plus her husband's brother didn't want to marry her. And this was not mina erisin. This was not just from a betrothal. This is from nesuin. She already entered into the husband's house. Ksubas mana. The ksuba is 100. Vein latainas besula. And the husband cannot say, the new husband can't say, what's going on over here? I thought she was a basula. You should have known better. Now, even though officially she's still a basula, but he still should have known better. She already went into his house. Officially, she's a basula, but okay. What does it mean? He doesn't have tainas basula. So, how much was her ksuba anyway? It was only 100. Her ksuba is anyways 100. I guess what the Gemara is saying is that what the Mishnah is saying is that he doesn't lose. He can't cause her to lose even that 100. By saying that it's a mekachtos. Mekachtos means that the purchase was mistaken. It was a mistake. Is he can't say that this whole deal is off. I don't know any. Right, mistaken the description. Right. You have to describe why you're returning things, right? Hagiyeris v'ashvuya v'ashivcha shenifta v'sheneskar v'shenestachi yiseir sal b'nei shalosh shana v'yayim echad ksubas mana v'elam tanis b'sulim. Now we say the contrast to the Mishnah that we had yesterday. If there's a girl that converted, or she was a maid, or she was captive, and she's older 3 years old, when she gets redeemed or converts or freed, so then the ksuba is only 100, not like yesterday we learned that it was under 3 and it's 200. And also the husband cannot claim that I thought I was getting a basula. Can't claim that because she was older than 3. He should have known. Okay, it seems clear. We were discussing the whole time. If he thought that she's a basula and it turns out that she's really not, does she still get 100 or does she get nothing? For the ksuba. We were discussing this, and because it wasn't clear. The Gemara today is going to be clear, but from the Mishnah, it seems that she doesn't get anything, because when it's saying that ksubas mana, then adds in being Latinus basulim, and he can't claim that I thought I was getting a basula. Sounds like in other cases she would get nothing. He can't make the claim that she should get nothing. That's what it sounds like. Okay. Rav Yehuda Marav. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav. Rav Yehuda is a student of Rav. He's also a student of Shmuel. And he, when Rav passed away, went to Shmuel. So he would say over sayings in the name of Rav, and then Shmuel would comment on them. So Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav, Katna Bala Gdaila Asam Mukaseitz. If a young boy under 9 years old lives with a woman, so that's not considered a real relations because he's under 9. He's not really capable of having relations, but let's say he did. So that's considered that she was hit by a piece of wood. It's not considered a real relations. Okay. Now, what's the rule if she's hit by a piece of wood? What's her ksuba? Is she considered a virgin or not? So it's machlekes Rav and the Chachamim. So what would be over here? A katan shaba ala gedayla. Now the gedayla, this child that lives with the woman. By the way, the woman could be any age over 3. Anything over 3, she's already a woman. But for the boy, he's under 9. So she's now considered mukaseitz money. Now what's the din with the mukaseitz? That's a machlekes. Kemrisa kamei de Shmuel Amar. Rav Yehuda says, when I said this in front of Shmuel, he disagreed. He says, "Ein mukaseitz bebasa." There's no such thing as being hit with a piece of wood when you're dealing with flesh. That means either she had relations or she didn't have relations. She's either what's called a bu'ula. That means she's not a virgin, or she is a virgin, but she's not in the middle over here with the hit by a piece of wood. That's like the middle status. That's not happening. There are those people that taught this teaching from Rav Yehuda without Rav Yehuda. They skipped Rav Yehuda. What they did was they just taught it like this. They just have a machlekes between Rav and Shmuel without the history of it. That Rav Yehuda heard it from Rav, and then Shmuel said, commented. It goes like this. If a boy under 9 lives with a girl that's over 3, Rav Amar Samukaseitz, Rav says she becomes like a woman that was hit by a piece of wood, and she loses the virginity. And what's going to be the halacha regarding her? It's machlekes Reb Meir and the Chachamim. By the way, there's one other halacha that we didn't mention. A kohen gadol is not allowed to marry a mukaseitz either. Kohen gadol specifically needs to marry a basula. Oh. So what happens if a young child lives with this girl? Is she mutter to a kohen gadol? His living with her is not considered living with her. So if we say that she's considered a mukaseitz, which is the statement of Rav, then this girl is now also to a kohen gadol. And if we say, like Shmuel, that that's nothing, so then we say that it's nothing and she's permitted to a kohen gadol. So besides for the difference in the ksuba, there's also one other halacha. Okay.
Does it make sense that a kohen gadol was single? Or refer to his second or third wife?
It could be a second and third wife, which he's allowed to have, right?
Because it is ruptured by wood.
Yeah, ruptured by wood. Right. I'm sorry.
This phrase is attributed to Shmuel. Amar ein mukaseitz babasar.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand the meaning of that. Is the meaning that if she was penetrated by a male organ?
Yeah.
That's what it means?
That's what it means. Yeah. Which Shmuel is using that term because he wants to say that if you want to tell me that she's considered that she's a bu'ula, she had relations, then fine. But if you're not telling me that, then that's not a mukaseitz either. You can't tell me that that's a mukaseitz. It's got to be there 100%. Slightly pregnant, right? It's got to be 100% this way or that way. She's either perfectly clean, a basula, or she's a bu'ula. That's Shmuel's comment.
So this is all about the definition of a basula.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's also the idea that I think the skin would close up.
Under
over time.
three, under three, under three, it would close up. Yeah. Here we're talking about a girl that's over 3, but the boy is under 9. That's why we're saying, yeah. Okay. Master Rav has a question. He asked a question from our Mishnah. It says, Gadol Shabala Ktana, if an adult man lives with a girl that's under 3, Bikata Nabala Gadaila, or a child, a boy, under 9, lives with a girl that's over 3. Umukasates, or the skin, the virginity was ruptured by a piece of wood. All of those cases, Kesubos Masayim, the ksuba is 200 coins, which that's the regular ksuba for a basula. Divri Rab Meir, that's Rab Meir's view. Chacham say mukasates, ksubasa mana. Mukasates ruptured by wood, it's only 100. You see what's going on over here? The Chachamim only argue with the mukasates. They don't discuss the boy that's 9. That's under. They don't discuss the boy that's under 9 with the girl. Why? Because they hold that that's also considered a basula. So you see clearly, not like Rav. I think this is going to be a kash on Rav.
But is it for sure that she lost her basulin in that case with the boy?
By the Mukasates or by the boy?
By the boy.
By the boy, no, we don't have that. That's not for sure.
Right. So that could be the difference.
You're right. Then it would be, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, Taisus comments, Daniel. Taisus makes that comment, the observation that you just said. Yeah. You see the top Taisus, Shmuel? Okay. So that's a good question that Rabbi is asking on the opinion of Rav, because we're seeing clearly that the argument about if a girl is considered a basula or not, or if she is only regarding the mukasates, the Chachamim only argue about that. By the other one, by the one where there's a boy that's under 9, the Chachamim would agree that the ksuba is 200. So Amar Rava says no. Rava says that you didn't necessarily read the Mishnah correctly. Hachi Kamar. If you look at the Mishnah again, you could read it like this, and Rav could be correct. It goes like this. Okay, that's clear. An adult man that lives with, or a boy that's over 9, it's already in it for this as an adult man, that lives with a girl that's under 3. Okay, it's case number 1. That's that's considered nothing, because under 3, that's like someone sticking his finger in his eye where the tears, he starts to the tear, not tear, but the tears, the liquid in his eye. I'm sorry. The tear ducts will release the fluid. So and then it just comes back, and there's no harm. It's just there's tears. So too with the girl that's under 3, the skin grows back. That's the example that it uses. Now we're reading further in the Mishnah. The child that lives with the boy under 9, that lives with a girl that's already over 3.
Wait, is that true?
No harm?
Yeah, the doctor is.
I don't know. The doctor didn't comment yet. What Rava just did was he didn't make it into 2 categories here. The child that lives with the girl that's over 3, plus there's another category of mukasates, and put it together as a translation. And the child that lives with the girl is like a mukasates, like ruptured by wood. And regarding a mukasates gufa, plukta to Rab Meir v'Rabbanan, and that's a machlekes. Now we can say Rav's opinion that this is considered according to the Chachamim, a katan haba ala gedayla only gets mana. Okay. Ama Rami Bar Chama. Rami Bar Chama, who was Rami Bar Chama, he's a son-in-law of Rav Chisda. He's a friend of Rava. They actually married the same woman.
Too bad.
Yeah, but first Rami Bar Chama passed away. Then Rava married her. So Rami Bar Chama says, Machlekes keshehikaba. We're discussing over here, you see, it's the details were left out. We're discussing over here full disclosure. She says her story of what her situation is. Now we have machlekes regarding that situation. What is she? Her skin was ruptured by wood. Does she get 200 coins for the ksuba? Does she get 100? But we know all the information up front. And there's a machlekes what that status is, which is fine. That's the machlekes Reb Meir. The Reb Meir medamila lebegeres, Rabbana medamila beula. Reb Meir says she's considered like a girl that matured. Now, when a girl matures, the skin itself starts to separate itself. She's not as full of a virgin as she was when she was younger. Just her maturity separates some of it. So she's considered like a begeres. That's Reb Meir's view. It was ruptured by wood. She didn't have relations with anyone, so it's like she matured. That's what happens anyway. Rabbanan 200, right? The Rabbanan say no. She's more comparable to someone that this girl that had an accident happened to her. That she's more comparable to someone that had relations. She lost the virginity. But all of that is a discussion just in when there's full disclosure. But let's say there wasn't full disclosure. She doesn't say what happened to her. She says she's a basula. And then they live together. And he finds out, what are you talking about? You're not a basula. There's something happened here. So she says it was a mukas eitz, but that she says later. But divrei hakol v'leiklum, everyone agrees that that's a mekach tos. She doesn't get anything.
Wow. 0.
0.
How old is she? She's 3 at this time.
3.5.
Her father's speaking to her.
Yeah.
But she's
She could
pregnant,
she could also be 12.
But you said that he's with her and he realizes she's not.
Right.
Who has relations with a 3-year-old?
Yeah. Well, or 3 and older. 3 and older.
Not relations with 3.
Right. It means 3 and older.
3 and older. Okay, 4 is not much different. 4-year-olds have relations.
Just gotta cover all our bases.
Yeah. It's a cutoff point. Yeah.
Yeah? They have relations at 4 years old?
Probably everything went that. It's the Wild West.
No, it wasn't mild. It was more they got married much younger.
I'll sell you 10 chickens for this cow.
Right.
It's not even conceivable.
Right.
Yeah.
When I see 4-year-old girls.
Right.
It's
Right. But the boy is 9 and she's 6.
boy's not taught anything.
No, you're coming from our society and you're asking a question on back then. It's the whole culture is totally different. You had to have been there. Look, there's a 1-room house. They know everything. There's no. It's not like they had like 3 floors in the house. It was a 1-room. It was the society was totally different. We're in this like funny society. We're strange, not them. Huh? Yeah, they could be married before bar mitzvah.
But in the society of the one-room house in most halakhas, the husband is expected to know what could be known in the community. What's throwing me about this entire discussion is that I don't know anything about these halakhas, but I do know something about the rules of edus and evidence.
Right.
And it seems that those have just been thrown out the window here.
Oh, you're talking about regarding who's believed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, wait for, where is it going to talk about the belief? Yeah, Daf Yud Gimel. Daf Yud Beis Amid Beis. Well, it's going to get into, yeah, you have to come back tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. If you don't have full disclosure, then Rami Bar Chama is suggesting that there's no, he's not suggesting, he's paskening that there's no, she doesn't get any compensation at all, right? It's a mekach tois entirely. He says it's a mistake in the purchase. Rab Meir, now the Gemara goes back. It says, Rab Meir, Amay Medam Lola Begeres. Why does Rab Meir consider the girl that her skin was ruptured by wood to a girl that just matured? Nidmaya Labuula. Why doesn't he compare it to a girl that had relations? She's not a virgin anymore. Rab Meir would explain that Bula Savid B'Maisa B'Dei Adam Halei Savid B'Maisa B'Dei Adam. This was not. She didn't live with anyone. So she's more comparable to just a girl that matured. There's two, basically what the Gemara is doing here, there's two parts to a girl being a virgin. First of all, the physical skin is intact. And second of all, she has no attachment to any other man. So Reb Meir is saying the main part of this is that she's not attached to any other man. She's just matured. However, Rabbanan nidmela b'ula. Adam edam labula nidmailam begeres. Why did the Rabbanan say that she's more comparable to someone that had relations? She should be comparable to a girl that matured. The Gemara says, "Begeres le'esavet b'maisa klal, ha'esavet b'maisa." No. The Rabbanan say that her price goes down. That's because when someone matures and they're not a virgin, that's because that nothing happened to them. That's just naturally when they mature. But this girl, something actually happened to her. So that's why it's more similar, according to the Rabbanan. This is a way, like, what do you compare things to? That's the question here. Do you compare this girl that the skin was ruptured by a piece of wood, compare her to someone that matured and it would get ruptured? Do you compare it to someone that had relations and it's ruptured? That's the question. Now, all of this is if there was full disclosure. But if there wasn't full disclosure about her situation, then she doesn't get anything.
Simple disclosure, she went to somebody and said, I accident.
She tells her husband when she's getting married that you should know that the skin has been ruptured because of an accident.
She's 3.5 years old.
There's no ksuba here.
Or she's 12 years old. Yeah. No,
When
if
you
there,
say there's nothing, there's
no.
ksuba?
no ksuba, if she doesn't disclose it.
So she tells her husband before the relations. They engaged her because of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, the ksuba is written by the wedding, not by the erison, right? Yeah, so not before the engagement, not before the betrothal. She writes it. She tells it to him before the actual wedding.
Right, but she's betrothed to the guy.
Yeah.
And then she tells him. What is the transaction?
Yeah.
Value.
Yeah, I think so, right? Am I correct? I think the ksuba is from the actual marriage. Massive Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman has a question on this statement about the when you don't have full disclosure. Let's say she says what happened here was that they had relations, and now he's all upset that she wasn't a virgin. So she says, "Well, what do you want from me? I was hit by a piece of wood when I was younger." He says, "I don't believe you. I believe that you had relations with another man after the betrothal." So Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer, this is a quote from the Mishnah on the next page. Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer, they agree over here.
He says, "What do you want from me?" Is that what
She says.
she says that?
I added those words in for
Probably did. say that.
so Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer Aimrim Nemenes, that she's believed. Now the question is, what does it mean she's believed? Believed for what? That she's a mukazait, but there wasn't full disclosure. So what does it mean she's believed? According to Rami Bar Chama, she should get nothing. So believe that what? Believe that she doesn't get anything? What's the benefit of that? must be that she gets either 100 or 200. I don't know, but that's a machlekes for me and chachamim, what a mukaseitz gets. But if you tell me she's believed, it's got to be she's getting something.
If it was disclosed to,
I think if she lied, then he can avoid the contract and give her nothing. If she didn't disclose, then she still gets 100.
That's a teretz. I'm not saying that's a teretz. He's saying that it was worse than it wasn't full disclosure. She actually lied. Then she should get nothing. That's a teretz. But the Gemara didn't say that yet. Maybe it's going to say it. The Gemara. Okay, let's see. But
It's not saying anything lying.
oh, that's is not full disclosure.
No.
Is that lying?
No. If she had relations previously, then she lied, and this contract is void, he can divorce her and give her nothing. But if she was just damaged because of something that happened during the course of her life, she never knew about it. And she finds out on her marriage, and oh, I'm damaged because
Yeah, that could be. If she has an excuse why she didn't say anything, because she wasn't aware that that was an issue.
Okay, fine.
That wouldn't
now
be
we can go
considered
back
lying.
and adjust the contract, not 200, 100.
Okay. Elama Rava. So Rava says, Bein hikirba, bein le hikirba l'Rab Meir Masayim l'Rabbanan hikirba mana le hikirba v'le klum. Rava resolves this. Very interesting way of resolving this issue. Rava says that according to Rab Meir, that says that she's considered like a regular girl that gets 200, then whether she had full disclosure or not, she's still a regular girl. So he didn't need to disclose anything because there's nothing to disclose. It's 200 either way. However, according to the Rabbanan, that there's a difference here. Rabbanan really say there's a difference besides in the value. Why is there a difference in value? Because there's a real difference here that needs to be disclosed. So if it's disclosed, then she gets 100 for the ksuba. And if it wasn't disclosed, then she gets nothing. Now, how does that help? Because then what I'll say is that this Mishnah would be following Reb Meir's view. And Nemenes means that she gets 200. Rava just resolved. And still, Rami Bar Chama could still be correct by saying that if there wasn't full disclosure, she gets nothing. Yeah, according to the Rabbanan. The Gemara then says V'hadabe Rava, but Rava retracted from this statement, and based on a Mishnah that's going to be later on, we'll see. Based on this price, but what's going to come out is that if Rava retracts, then everyone's going to say that even if they don't have full disclosure, she's still going to get at least 100 coins. At least even without full disclosure. As we'll see. The Tanya was taught in a price. Hitzah Shemra is when a man lives with a woman and then he gives her a bad name, Mitzi Shemra, by saying that she wasn't a Basula. How does that work? So if he's lying, what's the halacha if he's lying? He has to pay. He has to pay a coin. It says, Bola Bezdin V'amar, if he comes to court and he says, Pliny, Mister, who's he talking to? Who's the mister? He's talking to the girl's father. Your daughter was not a virgin. If he has witnesses that she committed adultery after the betrothal, so yesh la ksuba mana. She gets a ksuba of 100 coins. The Gemara is shocked. The Gemara says, why are you giving her coins? She's going to be taken, if there's witnesses that she committed adultery, she's going to be given the death penalty. Hachi kamar. Stoning, right. What it means is like this. If there's witnesses that she committed adultery, then she gets the death penalty by stoning. Zinsa me'ikara. Let's say she had relations before the betrothal when she was single. So then yesh la ksuba mana. Then she gets a ksuba of mana. Okay. That means that even though there wasn't full disclosure, she gets the ksuba of mana.
so that would be a problem as Cohen.
Yeah, that would be a problem for a Kohen. Correct. Is that a problem for a Kohen? No, it's only a problem for a Kohen. For a Kohen Gadol, that's a problem. Yeah.
Let's say a girl is 7, 8 years old. They're not
they had relations, was a guy took her, so to speak. So how good? It's not even her doing. I can't imagine a 7-year-old is trying to have relations with anybody.
Didn't we speak
So
about this?
far-fetched to me that, let's say she did have relations. It means someone took her.
Yeah, but let's say
Against her will,
let's
it
say the
doesn't
boy
count.
is 9.
I don't think it could.
What if he is? That doesn't mean, but she was taken by a guy at a young age, and how is she even
She's married to him.
responsible? And then she gets betrothed to somebody else, and then they find out she had relations.
Right.
It's like somebody did something to her when she was little.
Right.
Then she's
Then it would be-
she's an adulteress.
No. 1 second.
Only if she's engaged.
Only if she's betrothed, she's committed adultery. A single girl is not it's not considered
Okay,
adultery.
so
Yeah,
let's say she's betrothed, and then some guy takes her.
right. So then it's rape. Then nothing. Then she's innocent if it's rape. It's only if it's willingly.
But the husband has the right to avoid the engagement.
Right. Okay. V'amar Reb Chia bar Ravin amar Rav Sheshes Zeisimeres Kansa B'Cheskas Pula of Nimsas Pula Yesh L'Ksuba Mana. You see what's going on over here? That if you marry a woman and you're expecting her to be a basula, and she turns out that she's not a basula, she still gets a ksuba of 100 coins. Okay, it's pretty clear. Well, Masiv Rav Nachman Anesias Yishavlei Matzav Basulim. Rav Nachman has a question. Quotes the Mishnah further on. If someone marries a woman and he finds that she's not a basula, he marries Misher Stani Nenasti V'Nestach V'Sadeu. She says, "It's your bad luck. It was after I was betrothed to you, and it's like your field got flooded. I was already yours, and I was already under your jurisdiction, and so someone raped me. He says, no, it was from before I was betrothed to you, and the whole sale is void. What is he claiming? That because it happened before, he doesn't want to give her anything. That means that if you don't have full disclosure, she gets nothing. Not like Rav Sheshes is saying. Rav Sheshes is saying that she should still get 100. Rav Nachman has a question on that from this Mishnah. Rav Chia bar Ravin says to Rav Nachman, Efshar Rav Amram, it's lahu, it has got to be lay. Yeah. Efshar, lahu means to them. Lay means to him. Efshar Rav Amram v'kol gadei liadar yasvi kemer Rav Sheshes lashmaita v'kashlu v'shani my mekachtois nami mimasayim abel money is levatem les leklal. All the sages were there when Rav Sheshes said his statement. Rav Amram was there. All the great people. They heard what Rav Sheshes said. They also had your question. And the answer to your question must have been that he's claiming that he only wants to give her 100 coins instead of 200 coins. Not that he also wants to give her nothing. Okay. Rama Rava. Rava then comments on this. Manda kamaisiv, shaper kamaisiv. Rav Nachman is right. Because when it says mekchi mekachtos legami mashma. When it says mekachtos, the sale is a mistake. He really means that the sale is a mistake entirely, not that I should only pay the lesser price. If that's the case, so what do we do with we have a statement that she's supposed to get 100. We'll have to explain it like this. If there's witnesses that she committed adultery, then beskila. Okay, then she gets stoning. Zinsamikara, if she had relations beforehand, then she doesn't get anything.
Relations as a single girl.
Yeah.
Premarital.
Right. Nimtus mukaseitz, but if she's a mukaseitz, yesh l'ksuba mana, then she gets 100 coins. But Ravu the Amar l'Rabbanan lehikba b'lei klum. How could Rava say this? This is Rava's answer. But how could Rava say this Rava said that she doesn't get anything according to the Rabbanan. Now he's saying that she gets 100 coins if she's a mukasetz. It must be that Rava retracted that even if lehikerba, if there wasn't full disclosure about the accident, she should still get 100 coins. So in other words, Rava and Rav Sheshis will agree about this.
The disclosure is not a factor.
Yeah, regarding this accident, ruptured by wood. Okay. Now the Gemara says, Tan Rabbanan was taught in a brisa. We have a brisa. Conservation, l'shum nesuin v'yesh leidim shlei nistra. She gets married. In Mazel Tov, right? However, the marriage was never consummated, and there's witnesses to that. Ina ministra, they weren't even secluded, or even if they were secluded, it wasn't long enough to have relations. There's the door closed, opened right away. Less than the amount of time, like Mara Saita talks about how long relations takes, the amount to boil an egg, whatever. That was like easy to cook. It was basically a few minutes. 60 seconds, 120 seconds. The Yichud room today, they tell you either 6 minutes or 7 minutes. They give like longer shiurim, and it's really machmir. Then she gets divorced or whatever. Now the second person that marries her cannot claim, what happened? I thought you were a basula. Why? Sure, conservation, because she was already actually in the same house as her first husband, and now he should have known that something could have taken place. Well, Rabba says, we're on top of Daf Yomi. This tells us that concept b'cheskas basula v'nimtzas bula yesh l'ksuba mana. What did he think? He thought that she was really a basula, and it is a second marriage. But that's what he was thinking, that she's a basula, she's a virgin. And turns out that she's not.
No, she is. She didn't have relations.
But turned out for
There was
some
no
reason, she's not a basula.
For some reason.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what happened, but turns out that she's not a basula.
Maybe so unrelated.
Right, could be unrelated to that. But whatever the case is, she still gets a ksuba of a mana, exactly as Rav Sheshes said. Okay. Ravashi Amar Ba'alma La'ilame Malach Les Laklal. Ravashi says, really, she doesn't get anything. V'shani Hachashri Conservation. Over here, it's because he should have known better. That's why she gets a mana. We tell him that you're in most cases you would be right, that you don't want to give anything. We understand that this was like mekach tos, but over here it's not a mekach tos because you should have known better. That's Ravashi's claim on this. The Gemara says, 1 second. Why is she not a basula? It's not from the first husband. We have witnesses that they weren't in the room together. Or even if they were, it wasn't long enough. We should suspect, the question was like this, should suspect that maybe after the betrothal, she had an affair with someone, and really she's forbidden to the husband. Why is he even allowed to be with her? Second husband. After the betrothal to the second husband. The first husband was clear that there was no relations. The marriage was not consummated. The second husband marries her and she's not a virgin. How'd that happen? Maybe she had an affair in between. She's an adulteress. Rav Shravya says, or Mukaseit, but Rav Shravya says that we're talking about over here that he betrothed her and married her at the same time, the way we do weddings today. So it's clear that she didn't have relations with someone after the betrothal, because after the betrothal was immediately the wedding. There are those that learn this not on the Brisa, but they learn this on the Mishnah. The comment of Rabbah and Rav Sheshas, they have all of this on the Mishnah. See, what's the difference between our Mishnah and the Brisa? The Brisa has witnesses that the marriage wasn't consummated. The Mishnah does not have that, as we'll see. It's the same Gemara, just repeated again. Besula almana grusha v'chlutzim and nesuin. if she's a widow or a divorcee or a chalutza from a marriage, but she's still a basula. So we say ksubas amana vein latainus basulim. The ksuba goes down to 100, and the husband cannot claim that I thought you were a basula. Basula min nesuin heichem mishkachas. What's the case? How is she a basula? Well, she entered into his house or a chuppah, but they did not consummate the marriage. Amar Rabba, but he is still thinking that she's a basula. But nevertheless, even though we didn't have full disclosure here why she's not a basula, he thinks she is. Nevertheless, the ksuba is still a mana. Ravashi Amar, it's not true. Could be only in this case the ksuba is a mana because she was married. Over here, he should have known better. So even though we didn't have full disclosure, but because there was something obvious here, that's considered like disclosure. But why is he permitted to her? Maybe she had relations after the betrothal. It's a repeat of the last Gemara. Rashavia says that the betrothal and the wedding was done at the same time, so therefore we don't have that concern. Okay, now the Gemara says, Rabba's statement that she gets a ksuba of a mana, even though there wasn't full disclosure. If that statement was referring to the brisa where there was witnesses that the wedding wasn't consummated, that the marriage wasn't consummated. So
in English royalty, when a king or figure would get married, they would put a bunch of people around the bed and then pull the curtains, and they were considered witnesses that consummated. That back then.
similar to it. Yeah.
It confirmed there was a consummation.
Yeah. Similar to that. So, if this was taught on the brisa, where there were witnesses that the marriage wasn't consummated, and she still gets a ksuba of amana. So on the Mishnah, where we don't have witnesses that it wasn't consummated, which is an assumption, so then for sure she should get a ksuba of amana. But the one that taught it on the Mishnah, over there we didn't have witnesses that the marriage wasn't consummated. And over there, he should have known better. So maybe over there is the ksubas of mana avala brisa, but by the brisa where it says over here that there were witnesses that the marriage wasn't consummated, he's really expecting her to be a basula. This is a real mekachtas. I was relying on those witnesses that the marriage wasn't consummated. I was shocked she wasn't a basula, so maybe she gets nothing. Yeah, so we don't have it fully how the brisa would hold if it was taught on the Mishnah. Not how the brisa would hold. We don't have what Rabbah would say about the brisa if he taught it on the Mishnah. Okay, now we have a new Mishnah. It goes like this: if someone is eating in his father-in-law's house in the area called Yehuda, southern part of Israel, and there's no witnesses there to that they were separate. He cannot then come and say that I can't believe she's not a basula because they were secluded. And in Yehuda, things would happen. When it says over here, someone that was in Yehuda, it must mean that not everyone in Yehuda did this. There must have been places that not. That even in Yehuda, there's different areas where the minhagim are different. Kedetanya. Let's start in a brisa. That's what, like we would say today. What's the minhag in Yerushalayim? So it depends which shul you go to. There's 1,000 shuls there. Depends which one. Okay. Amar Rab Yehuda. You hear Rab Yehuda says, in Yehuda, very interesting. Abaya says, we see. Oh, so 1 second. That's where I'm holding. Yeah. In Yehuda, originally, they would take the chassan and the kala and they would have them in a room together even before they went to the wedding. so that she should be feel close to her husband. And probably the explanation for this is that because there was a decree in Yehuda that the bride had to live with the general before the wedding, so they would want her to feel resist that, because she feels close to her husband already. So they would create an attraction between the it wasn't just an arranged marriage from the parents, and then she didn't care if this other guy comes, because then that could be considered willingly, which is a problem. So they want it to be, it should be considered that she's violated, not that it's willing.
And it's not assumed that they had bia when they were alone?
And that's also assumed. That's also assumed.
Assumed they did have bia.
So yeah, there's two benefits to this, why they were alone. One is that maybe the general is not going to want her anymore because he doesn't want someone that's already not a virgin. And also because it's going to be considered a rape rather than she did this willingly, because she now feels attracted to her husband. Okay.
What does it mean below Edim?
Yeah. I think below Edim means that without Edim, that they were separated.
Okay.
Means we just like close our eyes. Came, but this was not done in the north, in the Gullah. Another statement. Yehuda, and this is from the Brisa. Yehuda Berishenim Amidlam Shnei Shvina Mechad Lei Vechad La Kadei LaMashmish Asachasim Asakal B'Shas Knisas L'Chuppah B'Gullah Yosem Kain. Okay. In other places in Yehuda, not in the same places, we're proving that there were other places in Yehuda. What they would do is they would examine the chassan and the kala before they went into the room to make sure they weren't hiding anything. She may bring in a stained sheet, blood stains on it, to cover up that she's not a virgin. She brings some stains from something else, I don't know, from some blood from somewhere, and she brings it in, and then she's going to fool the chassan that she really, look, there was blood. And he may be bringing in clean sheets that when the blood is there, he's going to want to claim that she was really not a virgin. He's going to get rid of somehow those sheets, and he's going to spread out clean sheets.
That's a bad start.
Yeah. Okay.
Except to get a little
Say, I knew from the beginning not to trust him.
That's what you get a
He
little
wants to get a lower price. Yeah. But Yehuda, but whatever the case is, how could he even make a claim? It's in Yehuda. There's no such claim because Yehuda, they lived together beforehand. It must be that there's different locations in Yehuda. That's what it's. As we're proving this. They would actually have the groomsmen sleeping in that room, but not in the Gul. It's probably the same idea that they didn't want any false claims going on. And if you don't have this custom, then he cannot claim the Tainas Pesulim that what's going on? She's not a virgin. Now the Gemara asks right away, hey, that last statement, if you don't behave like this, then you can't claim that. What are you referring to? It says, if we're talking about the first case, they would have seclusion first. It's the opposite, not if you didn't behave like this. If you did behave like this, if they were secluded, then he can't claim that she's not a basula. Ella Seifa, it must be talking about where they had the examinations, that if they didn't do those examinations, they examined the bride and the groom before they went in. So then you can't make that claim. No, it's not if you didn't behave like this. It should have said, if they weren't examined, it should have spelled that out. Then you can't make that claim. Amarabaya, Loila Maresha, really we're talking about the first case. And Vitani Kolshinag. And what it means to say is that anyone that did behave like this cannot make a claim that she's not a virgin. Amalei Rava, Kolshinag Katani. It doesn't say that. It says exactly the opposite. It says anyone that didn't behave like this. Elamarava, Sarava says, Hachikamar. Kolshinag mina Galil begalal, mina Yehuda begalal. It's not talking about Yehuda. Rava says it's talking about in the Galil. Anyone in the Galil that did not behave the way they do in the Galil, but he was actually secluded with his wife before the wedding, then he can't make a claim on her that she wasn't a virgin. You behaved like the way they do in Yehuda in the Galil. Ravashi says, Loila Maseifa. Really, we're talking about if they didn't do the examinations of the chassan and the kala before they went into the rooms. And translated to say, not anyone that didn't behave. Anyone that was not examined cannot make that claim because we don't know what he snuck into the room. Maybe snuck in some sheets that were white or maybe whatever. Yeah, let's leave it over here.